I sawed off the ends of the tabletop. This crack right here is much worse than it actually looks like. It goes down at an angle. It's from these checks on the end. But the problem with sawing these ends off, I wound up having to cut into a biscuit on each end. But rather than fret about it, I'm going to turn this into a feature. I'm going to make a walnut button a little wider than the biscuit and inlay it. I'll do that on both ends. And that will add a nice little decorative touch to it and hide that biscuit as well. I've just got this dry fit. I spent some time figuring out a clamping scheme for this glue up, and it looks good. Looks like it's going to work. I'm not going to bother shooting video of the actual glue up because you don't need to see all the crying and cussing and everything else that goes along with it. But yeah, I'll show the end result. Hopefully it'll look like this, and I'll be just as happy then as I am now. So we will see. Well, I probably could have shot video of that. It was only a little bit of crying and cussing. I would have had to edit out. Since this was such a complicated glue up, I went ahead and used an artist brush to spread the glue instead of a normal little stick. That simplified things a lot, made the process go quicker. Everything was coming together pretty good. So I'm going to let this dry for a few hours, and hopefully it'll stay and not explode when I take the clamps off. I laid out my mortises on each end of the top for the walnut buttons I'm going to put in here to hide this biscuit that's showing through. If I had very many of these to do, I would make a template and set up my plunge router, but since it's only two, I'm just going to use a chisel. I wasn't sure I would need two vices on my table, but now I'm glad that I put them on here because I got that one blocked up with a clamp, so I'm having to use this one. I'm going to get the mortise cut before I cut the buttons, just in case there's some adjustments to make. I'm just scoring the outside dimension right now. Got one of the mortises cut, 1/8 inch deep. It's roughly a 1/2 inch high, 1 inch wide, and 1/8 deep. So now I've got to do the other end, but I'm going to knock off for a while and fix dinner. Well, it's cold and snowy outside, but it's nice and toasty warm in my shop. So I'm going to get to working on the other mortise on my tabletop. got one of the walnut buttons done. Since this is so small, I just chamfered the edge with a sanding block and sandpaper. I don't know if you can tell or not on the camera, but I angled this just a little bit so it would give a tight fit. Once I glue it and tap it in place, it'll make a nice tight fit to the mortise. And I numbered it and indicated the direction because it fits better one way than it does the other, and I don't want to accidentally mix this one up with the one on the other end when I go to glue them in. I got this idea from David Marks. I've seen him inlay ebony buttons as accents. Well, I don't have any ebony. I think this walnut will give a good contrast to the mahogany once I get the finish on it. The table base has been in the clamps overnight, so I'm going to pull them off and see what I got here. Hopefully it will look as good when I get the clamps off as it does with them on. Well, the glue seems to have held. The joints are tight as I can get them. The wedges are still loose. I've got to glue them in. But other than that, I'm looking good. Got the base and top aligned. The hold down's positioned. Now I'm going to mark the screw holes and then get this top mounted up temporarily. I've got my bow tie alternative inlay sanded to the shape I want. I used a dowel and sandpaper for the inside curves and a little flexible sanding strip to do the outside curves. Okay, I got the inlay and the mortise fitting pretty well. Let me go ahead and glue this in place. Okay, now I'm going to see if I can tap this thing down into place. Okay, yeah, I think that's as deep as it's going. We can keep wailing on it till I break it, or let it dry. No, it's it is 1/16. above the surface. So that's where it's supposed to be. All right.